This episode of Films and Fermentation is brought to you by Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Browse articles from any topic you choose, in sports, technology, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. The entire web now becomes listenable, all in one place. They also have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast, Films and Fermentation, is located there as well. We actually started using it recently as our own default podcast app. They even have digital radio. So download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link provided in the description of this episode. And if you use the promo code ANDFERMENT, that's ANDFERMENT, you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. So download Newsly now. Stop scrolling. Start listening. Welcome, everybody, to Films and Fermentation, episode 75. This is the season 4 premiere.
Woohoo!
Thanks for the enthusiasm, folks. Yes, episode 75. What did they give you when your 75th anniversary? Isn't it like
casket?
It's a casket. Yeah, that's what I
They give you a
figured.
casket.
This is what
Give
they
me a
give you.
casket. Yeah, they give you applause because you're gone. So it's our season 4 premiere. We made it to season 4. Yes. Like I said, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol. I just talked about how I scripted everything, and I haven't even read the fucking script yet. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're 3 friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we celebrate both our 4th season premiere and our 75th episode by revisiting one of our favorite topics, films that time forgot. I was really excited to do this tonight, guys. Because we had a 2-week break, which we kind of needed. I was actually feeling a little like podcast burnt out towards the end there, like between the setup and then trying to be entertaining, and then and I feel like we were talking about the same movies a little bit towards the end. I felt like we needed that break, but then over the last 2 weeks, I was like, man, I can't wait to do the podcast again because we're doing one of my favorite topics, films that time forgot, and this is actually Films that Time Forgot Part 3.
It's actually tough for you, Leo, because you're the writer, the producer, the talent, the key grip, the best boy, and the caterer.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot.
We're just the pretty faces.
Yeah.
Mike does This Day in Film History, and Kevin forgets his alcohol.
That's right.
Hey, I also got the fun fact.
And the fun fact, and the beer thing at the end.
And the beer wisdom. Come on.
So for this episode, we each chose a movie from our youth that most people have either never seen or vaguely remember, and we discuss what we love about it. We also try to guess each other's choices, which often makes for some off-the-rails gold. We also have a guest this evening. What's that? Yeah. We also have a guest this evening. This is the first time ever that we've had a guest on the show. He is fellow podcaster Donald of the You, Me, and a Movie podcast. Welcome, Donald.
Thanks, Leo. Nice to finally meet Mike and Kevin as well.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little about your podcast.
Yes, awesome that I'm the first guest you guys have had after 75 episodes. I hope I don't screw it up so you never want another one again. But yeah, my name is Donald. I have a small little podcast I started a couple months ago called You, Me, and a Movie. Essentially, I started it just to make new movie-loving friends from all over the world with different, views and opinions from different walks of life. And I ask random people to pick a film they're either passionate about or just want to talk about in general, and come on my podcast and talk with me about it. I called it my friend-making endeavor. And Leo, you were one of the first people to come in and do an episode with me. It was amazing. Thanks again.
Yeah,
you were also
episode 3.
Yep, we talked about before midnight.
No, we did the Midnight Run.
Midnight Run before
midnight. Yes. Before midnight is the Ethan Hawke film.
I just did one with that. Yeah, I did that one with someone else.
This was before Midnight Run.
Before
there
Midnight
you go.
Run.
New movie.
Before Midnight Run.
But you were definitely the first film podcaster that I had an episode with. And so that was a learning experience. But yeah, it's nice to meet Mike and Kevin after listening to you guys' podcast for a while, and glad to be here.
Yeah, and I figured since I was the first outside guest you had on your podcast, I'd return the favor, make you our first guest. So
Yeah, that's
What I-
right. You were the first actual stranger I had because I had to start from somewhere. So I had one of my best friends that I do a baseball podcast with do my first episode, and then I had someone I knew from work do one, and then you were the first person I never knew before.
Well, if you have a stranger, there's no one stranger than Lake. So
yeah, you got it.
And what I like, and I know some of our viewers, they're listening, so they can't see this, but it looks like Donald's actually in the last Blockbuster video place.
Yeah,
that was
if
the
you look
intent.
behind him, he's got all
You see the blue
videos,
wall?
You know?
That was by design.
He's got a little poster that says "Be kind, rewind."
Yeah, so you can see the visuals if you like, if you follow us on our YouTube channel. And you can see the wall of DVDs behind Donald. You also see how professional Donald is with his headset and his microphone and his boom mic.
This
and all
is
that
all
stuff.
stuff I already had from music stuff, music recording.
Just don't
So
use it yet.
I just had the stuff sitting there just for when I recorded music.
I'm professional. I got stuff.
That's my mic right there. That's it.
Mine too.
Donald, you can see on my wall, I'm a big Marvel fan.
Hey.
So,
Oh yeah, I can see X-Men.
Donald, where can people find your podcast?
It's on all the main podcasting hosts like Spotify, Apple, Google. I'm trying to extend more to, I think Good Pods is what I'm trying to get on now. Eventually YouTube. So mainly Spotify and Google are the ones I'm having the most tread on.
Okay, and what's your Twitter handle?
All right, yeah. If anybody listening to this wants to be on an episode with me and maybe make a new friend in the process, you can hit me up on Twitter at YouMeAndAMovie1. It's the number 1. On Instagram at YouMeAndAMoviePod, or shoot me an email at YouMeAndAMoviePod@gmail.
Okay, and speaking of that, don't forget.
Hold on real sec. Donald, for those of us that still use MySpace.
Ask Tom.
Tom's always going to be my friend.
Yes, Tom was my first friend.
Yep.
Tom was my only friend for a while because after protesting MySpace for the longest time, I finally decided to create a MySpace page, and as soon as I finished, everybody went to Facebook. So speaking of social media, you can drop us a line at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit us at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation, where you can find all of our social media and podcast links. We too are on Good Pods now. We are on Spotify, Apple Pods, all the major podcast platforms, and we do have a YouTube channel. And like I said, all the links can be found in Linktree. We also have a Patreon page if you'd like to support the show. So, gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening? Donald, since you are our guest, I'm going to let you go first.
All right, yeah, I'll start. So since you guys are all in the Northeast area, I decided to share something. I'm currently living in the New Orleans area. So I decided to share some local breweries down here, which there's some really good ones down here. I have 2 that I brought. So I just share the one at a time while I drink it and then the other one later, or share both now?
Whatever you'd like. I mean, we usually end up going for a second drink somewhere during the show anyway. So,
all right, I'll share just the one I'm drinking right now then, and then I'll add the one. The first one I have is Jucifer IPA. It is from the Gnarly Barley Brewing Company, located in Hammond, Louisiana. If you can see it here, there's a can of it.
I like the name.
Jucifer.
Oh yeah,
Jucifer and the brewery, Gnarly Barley.
Oh yeah, they're in Hammond, really Louisiana, which is like most breweries down here. They're just across Lake Pontchartrain, or the bridge from downtown New Orleans. It's a juicy hazy IPA. It's about 6% ABV, and they describe it as a devilishly delicious hop bomb that makes your nostrils flare and your tail point. Dry hopped with massive amounts of Citra and Mosaic hops for a truly delicious treat. Impressions of tropical papaya, mango, and grapefruit wash over your taste buds. Fermented with our housed hazy yeast for a soft mouthfeel that will keep you wanting more. All hail Jucifer.
We should be getting residuals for that.
Yeah, it is delicious. It was one of the first local ones I had.
Wait, stop.
Yeah.
He's drinking out of a Braves glass.
We don't need to stop for that. The Braves hat.
Donald, do you have a preferred beer of choice? Porters, IPAs, lagers?
I don't have a preferred beer. I have preferred Scotch or anything peaty. Beer, I'll drink pretty much anything. My favorite, just plain American beer is near you guys. Yingling is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to beer, I'll drink and try anything.
Okay.
Yeah, that was quite the commercial you gave there for Jucifer. Like,
Yeah, man. Came prepared.
I wanted to say Jucifer, not a sponsor of the show.
Yes. Anyway, if you ever, I don't know how far out you can get gnarly barley stuff from here, but if you ever see it, grab some.
Yeah,
I think I'll check out
stuff.
the website, see if they ship.
Yeah. I actually didn't look to see if they did.
Mike, what you got going on? I know Mike just came back from Gatlinburg, so he's got a whole shit ton of alcohol.
Old Smoky.
It's a very dry town.
Yeah.
Very, very dry town.
So they've added another winery, a brewery, and another actually 2 wineries and another moonshine place in Gatlinburg. So I was drinking a lot. So I'm starting off tonight and almost finished my glass of Old Smoky charred moonshine, which is 6 month old, aged 6 months in a bourbon barrel. Then I'm going to go on to my Old Smoky cocktail, moonshine cocktail, a Moscow Mule or a Mountain Mule.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, Kev, what did you run out of the room for?
So we had a party recently and we got a lot of leftover margaritas, so I'm just going to be down in this strawberry margarita
right
mix,
from the
just
bottle?
to see if I can, right from the bottle. I don't bring cups. Do you think I had time to grab a glass, the little salted rim, maybe cut myself a little wedge of lime? But if my stomach gets too sour from all the sweet, I brought up one of our locals. This is the Cape May Tan Limes. It's a Mexican-style lager with sea salt and lime. Okay, from Cape May, New Jersey, one of our shore points. It's 4.5% alcohol by volume, and it's Tan Limes. What's that?
That's a light beer. Yeah.
It is light beer. Oh yeah, it is light beer. Usually, if I don't go for anything below 6% because they just taste, too much like water. But this is good. I have a few summer beers still lingering in my fridge that I need to make a dent into before I start pulling out the Oktoberfest and the pumpkin porters and all the stouts. So, trying to work my way through. But got to start somewhere.
It's funny, Kev. On my way home, I've been listening to a lot of our old.
Hang on, guys. I'll be right back. Just keep going. I'll be interested.
It's funny, Kev. I've been listening to a lot of our older episodes, and earlier today, when on my way home, I was listening to the last Star Wars episode we did.
Okay.
And in that episode, you were drinking strawberry margarita mix that went bad.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And then you switched it out for a Corona that was skunked.
Yeah, a bad night.
Man, it's like it's Groundhog Day. It's coming back.
Yeah.
Kev, I was telling Lee that I have a 6-pack with your name on it with 3 different types of beers. One is a very good Oktoberfest, and I also have 2 growlers. So I want you guys to try with me. One is a shanty, and the other one is I think it's a lager. All Tennessee breweries.
Yeah, nice. Did you find out about the beer fest thing on Saturday?
The beer fest, I have it. I had it up, and I was going to send it to you, but I will send it to you after the show tonight. Yes.
Mike said he can go with us because he's not.
Okay, yeah. Sweet. It's around the corner from you too.
She's in her room by herself all the time. And when she comes out, she's masked. I'm negative.
Might I suggest you get one of those inflatable Halloween costumes? That way she can go out of the house and still enjoy things. It'd be,
She's going as a hazmat professional for Halloween. All right. So, Mike, anything happened this week?
What are you drinking, Lee? What are you doing moving on without your drink?
We got so distracted by Beer Fest and other shit. So I have 2 drinks that I discovered that I really, really like that I only have one left of for each one. So I figured I'd save it for tonight since it's the premiere. One is the Bombshell hard cider that I got from Warhorse Brewery in New York. It's the strawberry cherry lemonade hard cider. And it's very tasty and very easy to drink. The other one, Mike, is the crab cakes and football. What is the IPA from
Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone that you got me as a gift, and I still had one left, so I said I'm going to save it.
Donald, if you can get Devil's Backbone down there, try it. I've not had a bad beer yet from that.
Every beer
is
so
that
far
is that the name of the beer or the?
That's the brewery.
The brewery.
The brewery. Okay.
Out of Virginia.
Okay, I'll check that one out.
It's really every beer so far has been pretty good. So now that I've already screwed up the show twice, Mike, is there anything that happened this week?
This day in film history. In 1985,
95.
directed. What?
95. You said 85.
Oh, Jesus. I'm thinking about something else.
You're embarrassing us. In front of...
I finished my moonshine.
Yeah.
In 1995, Seven, directed by David Fincher and starring Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and Kevin Spacey, premieres in New York.
Yes, still on Netflix right now. So if anybody wants to watch Seven, it's available.
Oh yeah, definitely. With Halloween coming up, that's one of the ones I go to. That's a great movie. That was actually one of the first movie reviews I did for my high school newspaper.
For Seven?
Cool.
Yeah, cool. And I thought this would be great. And then, I put it in the paper and they're like, you went to see an R-rated movie, you're a sophomore.
Told on yourself.
I was like, yeah.
And you said, what's the fucking problem?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
You should have just told them your parents went with you. That's fine.
There you go.
Kevin Spacey was not on the original credits for the film because they wanted it to be a surprise that he was the murderer at the end. Because at the time he was beginning to become pretty popular. He had just won the Oscar for Usual Suspects. Was in Glengarry Glen Ross and was on his way to being in American Beauty right after this.
Yeah.
But now when you watch the film, you know it's Kevin Spacey. He's in the credits, and we all know that he's disgraced now too. So
he's in the doghouse.
You don't see many films that still say it's Kevin Spacey in the credits.
Well, it's still a great film, man. It still holds up.
Yeah.
It's a good watch. Yeah. Mike, what's your fun drink fact for us this evening?
I'm going to talk to you about a American craft brewery destination again.
Ooh.
Sierra Nevada Brewing Company in Chico, California. Started by home brewers Ken Grossman and Paul Kamsuzi.
You sound very confident about that, Mike.
No, I'm not. Back in 1979, Sierra Nevada is one of the founding fathers of the U.S. craft brewing renaissance. From the very first batch of the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, this California brewery has maintained legendary quality and freshness. There you go.
Yeah, I was stationed in Phoenix, Arizona for a while, and they were huge. That brewery was huge there during beer fest times and stuff. They brought a lot of stuff down.
Yeah, we had one of our listeners recommend it, and we had it the next week after that. I had one. Yeah, they're pretty good.
You know what? Your fun drink fact this week should have just been a picture of all the alcohol you brought home from Gatlinburg.
Yeah. Good guy that did the whole table.
So I'm going to do some notes from the last show, which was a while ago, and it's really not notes from the last show since it was so long ago. It's just a lot of shit that's been dropping this week, and I'm going to go through it quickly because I don't want to spend too much time on it. But there's been so many trailers that have been released, especially for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
With the Mandalorian season 3 trailer, which looks phenomenal.
Awesome.
It looks great. I've been watching House of the Dragon, and I'm really surprised it took 4 episodes for the incest to happen.
Spoiler alert.
It's a Game of Thrones show.
Come on, dude. You know it's coming.
Oh, no, that's true.
The story's about the Targaryens. You know it's coming.
The Ring of Power,
I am surprised it wasn't the wholesome movie I thought it was going to be.
I'm watching the wholesome one.
Have you guys been watching She-Hulk at all?
I have, yeah.
What do you think?
I'm liking it. I'm digging it. I think it's quirky, cute.
Yeah, it's like here and there for me. So like some episodes I'm like, some episodes I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for Daredevil to show up.
I'm waiting for Daredevil. I like Disney, when they started doing the Marvel series, they started off with the drama, right? You had Winter Soldier, Winter Soldier and Falcon. You had WandaVision, and then they kind of they're taking a little bit later now. Hawkeye was a little bit later. Miss Marvel was a little bit later. She-Hulk is a little bit later, but they are still staying relatively faithful to the comics, to my understanding. Breaking the fourth wall, little tongue-in-cheek stuff here, there.
I mean, like they're missing a chance to have Deadpool show up since there's a lot of fourth wall breaking, but at least we're gonna be getting Daredevil at some point.
Yeah, unfortunately, since Adrian's quarantined, we have not been able to watch anything together, so I can't watch anything without her. I'm rewatching Daredevil already.
So they showed the trailer for Andor recently. That looks pretty interesting,
awesome.
And that's supposed to be a short, like a short series. I don't think it's going to be like a multi-season thing. I think it's like more like a mini series maybe. I just saw a trailer for this, and it's premiering on Netflix. It's not going to be in the theater, but I'm really excited about it because I love the first movie. It's called The Glass Onion, a Knives Out story.
Oh, yeah.
And it is the sequel to Knives Out, and it's not going to be in the theaters. It's premiering on Netflix. They're bringing back Daniel Craig as the Benoit character, and they have a whole new cast of characters for him to solve the mystery around. Kate Hudson's in it. Batista is in it. Of all people. There was a whole slew. I don't even remember half the actors that were in it. There were so many that they showed in the trailer, but I'm intrigued because I really like the first film.
Do you think you can watch this separate from the first one and still be okay? It's not like it's dependent on knowing the character from Knives Out. Like you could just pick it up and.
I think so, because I think the only character that's returning is Daniel Craig.
Right.
And then he is, he's the detective solving the crime. So, I mean, I think, I don't know. I would think
it's like a modern day Agatha Christie.
Yeah, he's doing like a Hercule Poirot thing with the Benoit Blanc character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like it because I like Daniel Craig. I think is really great in it, and the first one was pretty good. So I'm hoping the second one lives up to the hype. We got some new numbers on Twitter. I had said on Twitter a couple weeks ago, we're coming up on our 75th episode. It would be nice if we can get to 750 followers by then. And we are currently, as of the beginning of the recording, at 775.
Nice.
So we got above the 750 that I was hoping for. We don't have any good pod rankings this week since we've been off for a while. We kind of dropped a little bit, so gotta get that back up there. But what I did do, in order to kind of keep us out there and kind of keep it fresh, if I could, was over the last 2 weeks on Twitter. Every day I was releasing a link to what I listed as our top 10 episodes of all time. And I went mainly by the ones that made me laugh the most when I listened back to them. I didn't go by like numbers or anything like that. So the field's on there.
The field should be on there.
So
thinking motherfucker.
These are the episodes. These are the episodes that I decided on. I dropped the episode, a link, and a little description of it. So number 10 was episode 9, a tribute to Mel Brooks.
Nice.
It's the early version of what would be our regular format, plus it's Mel Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Mike's going to hate this, but I like this idea. I said number 9 on the list was episode 1. The very, very first episode.
It was so bad recorded.
It was bad.
Movies and drinks from our youth. And I wrote in the description on Twitter, no format, shitty audio, no clue how to podcast, but pretty funny nonetheless. Just 3 guys having fun, and somehow we're still going.
Hey,
yeah.
Say hi to Katie. I see her.
Yeah, I saw Katie just popped in. Hey, bub.
I see her head. Her head's just over your shoulder.
You see, my wife's been in here like a ninja. You guys had no idea. The trash is collected. The windows are clean. You had no idea.
Number 8 on the list was episode 50, the Mount Rushmore Awards, which is where we picked our top 4 actor, actress, film, etc. Number 7 on my list was episode 18, which was the first Star Wars special. And that's one where we talked about why Star Wars was so special to us. Number 6 on my list was episode 12, Everyone's Irish on St. Paddy's Day. One of the first episodes to go off the rails as we discuss, the humor behind domestic battery. Number
Quiet man.
number 5 on our list was episode 66, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Pretty straightforward title there, but also a episode that we're pretty sure was cursed.
Yeah, we had all sorts of problems with that episode.
Yeah. Number 4 on the list was the Ghostbusters recast, which I said got the blessing of the recast of 2.0 guys, so we're pretty good with that one. Number 3 on the list. So this was the first one I re-listened to when I was putting this together, and I forgot how fucking funny this episode was and how much fun it was. No, I didn't put Batman on the top 10. I probably could have. It was our Valentine's Day special. The most depressing movies ever. It was.
Man, I would have loved to been on that one. That's my favorite kind of movie.
Downright hilarious.
Donald, that's my area of expertise.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good about something, don't worry. I'll put something on that can really bring you down.
Yes, little Michael Haneke.
And then run over your puppy, you know.
So we have a list of like show ideas that we add to from time to time, and that was Kevin's idea, was most depressing movies.
That's
and
a good one.
we made fun of it at the time that he mentioned it, but then I came up with the idea of making it the Valentine's Day episode.
That's perfect.
And I said this is going to be great. The second episode that I have is our number 2 episode, was the revisit of films from 1984. Which that was Mike's idea for that episode, and it was a good episode because there were just so many goddamn good movies in 1984, and it made for a really good, fun episode. And then number 1 was episode 54, Twin Films from 1979 to 1999. May not seem like, one that I would put down at number 1, but when I re-listened to it, I was like, God damn it, this is a funny episode.
Wait a minute. You mean my X-Men rant didn't make the list?
Your X-Men rant did not make the list. I'm sorry. Although I did re-listen to the MCU versus DCEU episode that we did recently too, and that was a pretty fun one as well. But the twin film ones, man, was so much fun to re-listen to, because it was I was giving you guys like the lesser known film, and you had to guess the better, the film that was the more well-known one and all that, and it turned out to be pretty fun. So that was just something I was doing to try to keep us out there while we were on our little break.
As universal.
My new beer is from Cherry Street Brewing. It's called the Hammered Monkey. It is a German-style Hefeweizen.
I was going to say that had to be a Hefeweizen.
It is a Hefe.
Yeah.
You know me and my Hefes.
And I am on the verge of finishing my bombshell, and then I'm going to move on to my crab cakes and football from Double Back.
I'm finishing up tan limes because I could not do. I was telling Donald, this is like drinking Kool-Aid and spiked Kool-Aid, and I was just, I can't.
Yeah, it didn't go well for the Jonestown people.
No.
My final one will be, it's called Andy Gator. That sounds like New Orleans, right? It's This is from a Beta Brewing Company, which is probably my favorite local brewery down here. It's in Covington, Louisiana, again, just across the bridge in Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans. It is a Hell's Doppelbock. That's how you say that. It is 8% ABV.
There you go. That's a beer that's got some chunk to it. That's got flavor.
Yes, this is delicious, man. This is delicious. But yeah, the last thing it says about it is, was it because of the high alcohol content? Be cautious. Sip it for the most enjoyment.
we were
but it's also it's great with anything, just about anything made with crawfish. I don't know how they are with crawfish.
Right.
I'm not from here, but oh my goodness, I love crawfish.
So we were talking about how Kevin's beer was a light beer. The crab cakes and football is only 4.2.
Yeah. And my next beer is a Ruby Red Ale from Saranac, which is a New York, I want to say, Utica, New York.
All right, so we're moving on to our main segment now. Our main segment is films that time forgot. This is part 3 for that. And Donald, just so you know, this is what we do with this is we each of us picked a movie from our youth that we remember fondly. It's not required that you rewatch it, but for the most part, I think most of us know our films really, really well anyway, but I try to rewatch them when I can.
Unless I have to pay for it.
Yeah, let's get to pay for it. The first time we did this, my movie that time forgot was a movie called The Explorers with Ethan Hawke. and River Phoenix, which I remembered fondly, but then upon rewatching it now was like, oh god.
I like the idea that you could take a tilt-a-whirl and make it into a spaceship.
Yeah.
I was like, then I can do that.
Hey,
I can
I'm very
find
proud
that.
of that episode because I stumped Leo on that one.
Yeah, I couldn't figure
Hey.
out Mike's movie. Mike chose Club Paradise, which was an early Robin
Yep.
Williams film,
Mm-hmm.
and
Leo
Kevin's
still hasn't
was
watched it yet.
the first one Kevin did was Space Camp.
Space Camp.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that, I remember that one. And then in the second episode, I did a film called Ice Pirates,
Mm-hmm.
starring Robert Urich. Mike did Mike, what was yours? I don't remember. Oh, Haunted Honeymoon.
Honeymoon.
Mhm.
Yep,
Haunted
yep.
Honeymoon, and Kevin did The Boy Who Could Fly.
Yes.
Yep.
So I am interested to see where this goes tonight because I love this topic. This is one of my favorite things to do on the show. So
It's gonna be hard for me. We're kind of all around the same age. I'm
Mhm.
assuming I've kind of gotten that from listening to you guys' podcasts.
I'm 82.
yeah,
Close, but
Well, if you're 82, I'm Methuselah. Okay?
Mike is the oldest one.
okay. But yeah, I'm very familiar with films before the 80s. But I grew up in the 80s,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then I'm very familiar with films after the 90s. So it's like your guys' expertise is kind of filling in my blanks. So listening to you guys' podcast has been great. I had never seen Midnight Run before Leo brought it to me, and I freaking loved that movie after I watched it.
Yeah.
So, who would like to go first this evening?
I'll do it.
So-
I'll do it.
Okay,
do it.
Michael, go first. Okay,
I'll do it.
go for
So, my movie this time is the 1985 classic Richard Donner directed film starring Alfred Molina,
it. Hmm.
John Wood,
Okay.
Michelle Pfeiffer,
Hmm.
Matthew Broderick, and Rutger Hauer.
Lady Hawk.
I knew you would
Holy
get it. I
cow.
knew
I
you
have
would get it.
never seen that movie.
I
Lady
know.
Hawk.
I didn't know
Me
Richard
neither.
Donner directed it.
Is
Yep.
that a DC movie? Lady Hawk?
No,
it is
no,
a
this
fantasy film.
is a
Oh,
fantasy film.
Lady Hawk.
The
what
Mouse,
kind of fantasy film?
medieval.
It's got Michelle Pfeiffer in it.
Yeah, very young Michelle Pfeiffer too. Yeah, that's it's Matthew Broderick is a thief that escapes a prison through the latrine. The mouse, he left our house to get away. He went down the drain, which is actually in the movie. He meets up with Rutger Hauer's character, Navarre, who is cursed by the bishop. He's a person by day. Michelle Pfeiffer is a hawk by night, or by day, and at night he's a wolf, and she's human. The only way to break the curse is they both have to be seen as human by the bishop at when the sun and the moon are together or something like that. It happens as an eclipse happens. So it goes through there,
That old chestnut.
That old chestnut. The tagline is "Cursed for eternity. No force in heaven will release them. No power on earth can save them, except for a ready thief boy,
Who is Matthew Broderick?
Matthew Broderick. But
Mhm.
he steals that movie. He really does. Just the way he puts his lines out, talking to God. Which one of the lines? Oh, here.
It's an odd thing to think of Matthew Broderick in a fantasy film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
This
it?
is 1985.
It's 85.
85.
Let's see here.
Um,
Ferris Bueller came out in 86, so it's right before he did
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller.
it was after he did War Games,
Mm-hmm.
before Project X.
Well, Project X came after Ferris Bueller.
Right.
Mm.
Mm.
Talk about
Like-
a movie that time forgot. Project X.
Oh
Project
man,
X.
I love that movie. And then when they
Mhm.
when they released a movie Project X in the 2000s, I'm like, it's a remake? All right, and it was nothing like it.
That was
In
about
name
Lies.
only.
that was
Name
about a
only.
house party. The other one was about a
Yeah.
monkey
Oh
party.
yeah.
The other one was about a monkey party.
Monkey party. It's not a party till the monkeys throw poo.
Here's one of the lines from Matthew Broderick. He's talking to God. I told the truth, Lord. How can I learn any moral lessons when you keep confusing me this way? He told the truth, and the guys went the other direction.
Yeah.
You know, because they knew he was lying, but then they figured he knew they was lying. Like Jesus.
Sir, the truth is, I talk to God all the time, and no offense, but he never mentioned you.
Exactly.
It didn't take me long to figure it out because one, I know the movie, I know the cast, and two, I know you love this movie.
I do.
Like you've talked about it before, so it kind of made it a little easy for me to kind of guess that one.
Well, Adrian's been pushing me to use that movie,
Okay.
so I gave it to her this time. I was going to use it eventually, but
That's why I'm
because
looking.
I was talking to my buddy Pat, who almost knows as much as Lee in movies, and he hasn't seen this movie yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus.
I've seen it. It's been a really long time since I've seen
Been a
it.
long
But
time.
I've seen it.
Well, the only way I can watch it is on your Pirate app. So
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at movies you might like if you like this film, and it has Excalibur.
yep.
Great movie. It has Dragon Slayer.
Yep.
Legend with Tom Cruise.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Krull.
Crawl.
I love Krull.
Kroll, yeah.
War Games. Willow. Beastmaster.
War
right?
Games is good.
Beastmaster. Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine, and
Oh,
Last
God.
Starfighter.
Enemy Mine.
Wow.
That's another.
I just
film.
heard a bunch of a lot of those films. If there's a podcast called Screen Drafts I listen to where they draft the best of like a genre of film or from a director. And one of the recent ones I listened to was 80s fantasy, and every movie you guys just listed was on that list that they drafted. Pretty good episode.
A great
And
decade.
I've watched
Great decade for
90% of
movies.
them.
I probably watched 90% of the 80s movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Mike, you got anything else you want to add to it?
No, we can go ahead.
Or do we kind of flatten you right by guessing it right away?
Yeah,
You seem sad.
I knew you were going to
You
get
seem
it.
sad.
No, that's why I went with the lower characters like Alfred Molina. You know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, Donald, why don't you try? Why don't you go next? I'd like to see what
All
you
right.
got here for us.
I'll try this out. Okay, so I really had two films I was thinking about.
Mhm.
One of them wasn't that special to me, but I did watch it a lot, and it was one that I thought like Mike's, you guys would have probably got in a heartbeat. So I went with the one that you guys might not get right away. I don't know how you guys are with this genre, but that's not the only reason I chose it. I did choose it because it is special to me, and it pretty much shaped my love for a certain genre.
Mhm.
But it's a 1986 slasher horror film.
Okay.
It is rated at 5.3 on IMDb.
So it's a good one.
My kind of movie.
Yes, there you go. And a 2.8 on Letterboxd. So and that's out of 5, of course.
Yeah.
So you guys see where I'm going. It's
Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes.
I find uncooked tomatoes disgusting. So yes, that's definitely a horror movie for me.
You get along with my wife then. She don't like uncooked tomatoes.
I
either.
love cooked tomatoes. I love
It's the
ketchup.
other way for me. I hate cooked tomatoes.
That's hilarious. But it's directed by a trio of filmmakers: Mark Ezra, George Dugdale, Peter Mackenzie Litton. Don't know if you ever heard of them. They've only done a couple other movies: Living Doll in '90, Savage Hearts in '95, and House Swap in 2010. Never heard of those films.
No.
Okay,
No.
I'll start with the main star of this film, Reverse of Mike. It stars Caroline Munro. I don't know if you know who she is. She got her start on 1967's Casino Royale as a guard girl.
So that was the Peter Sellers Casino Royale.
The old, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was in some good horror or Hammer films back in the 70s, like Dr. Fives with Vincent Price, Dracula AD in 72. She was the love interest, slave girl in Golden Voyage of Sinbad back in 73. Wow. But she was also in The Spy Who Loved Me in 77 as Naomi.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you remember. So, but I know her mostly from.
I'm a James Bond guy.
There you go. I know her mainly from her role as the lead female in Maniac 1980. Very underrated slasher film. Only other actor in this movie you may have heard of is Gary Martin. He is
Gary Martin. No.
Great.
Sorry.
Great voice actor nowadays. He does a ton of animated series and video games. And then I will mention another actor later that his name is Simon Scudamore. But I'll jump into the synopsis.
Okay.
Because I don't know how you guys are with 80s slasher films. So
That depends upon the movie.
Depends upon the movie.
okay.
I might know more than these guys do, but
Okay. The
I'm not
synopsis
sure.
is
I'm not sure either.
simple.
So.
8 people are invited to their old high school for their 10-year reunion, where a fellow former student, disfigured from a prank gone wrong, is out to seek revenge.
That's like 40 different movies out there for that.
Sounds like Grosse Point Blank, but that's not that. No, I don't think I'm going to get this.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't choose it solely because I didn't think you guys would get it. That wasn't the soul. It was
No.
That's okay. That's what we try to stump each other.
We want to stump each other. Wow.
But this is a movie that I rewatch every year or two, just because of how much it meant to me as a child. So I was about 4 or 5 when this film came out.
It's not class of '99, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. Trying to think of like high school slasher films like that from the 80s.
Aren't they all high school
Teen
slasher
Wolf?
films?
No.
Right. All high school.
Slaughter High.
That's it.
Oh,
There you go.
Wow.
That's it.
Pulling one right out your tuckus. There.
So yeah, this film it's not a good movie for people who aren't a fan of slasher.
It's
films
one
from
of the
the
reasons
80s.
I probably guessed it.
Yep.
I'm
But,
sure you watched it, Lee.
Yeah.
But it is my first memory of having nightmares. And I grew up with 2 older stepbrothers, so I was going to be watching the horror films that they brought to me, and in between seeing them making me watch Texas Chainsaw or all the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, this movie stood out with the mask. Basically, it was a jester hat and it had a mask attached to it that gave me nightmares for months. So it's the original horror film that just screwed me up royally as a little kid and made me want to watch. It influenced my love for horror. I love every single type of film now. I watch everything and anything, but it all started with horror for me, and this is the film that started it all. And it's not an amazing film, but it is. It's the kind of film you want to grab your buddies and some beers and some pizza, and sit down and laugh at a movie with bad acting, bad dialogue, but amazing practical effects. And
you mean Batman? Oh.
That's a lot of those 80s slasher films, like low budget 80s slasher films. Most of the budget went to the effects.
Yeah, but they touted this movie when it came out as from everyone who brought you Friday the 13th, and that's not true at all. It does have a score from Harry Manfredini, who did the Friday the 13th scores, and you can definitely tell because he recycles a lot of music from those movies. I think the only difference is there's like a crappy little tune for the theme or whatever. The cast is all British, maybe except one, but it's supposed to be set in America, an American high school. Another thing that gives it away is it was originally supposed to be called April Fool's Day, but it was in production at the same time of the other April Fool's Day that everyone knows from the 80s. So they changed it to Slaughter High. And the funny thing about that is in America we celebrate
It's a twin movie then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a twin movie. There's a lot of high school slasher films you could probably put in that category.
But it was here in America we celebrate April Fool's Day for 24 hours. It's a whole day thing. I guess at this time in the UK it was only celebrated for half a day because a character in the movie says something about don't worry, after noon or 12, he can't do anything else. So we just got to survive till then. Like, no, that's not
It
how
sounds
April
like the
Fool-
purge.
right? That's not how April Fool's Day works over here in America. Another funny
Not
thing,
yet, at least.
the beautiful Caroline Monroe was the first third of the movies basically shot at a high school and their high school students. She was 35 during when she filmed this.
She's
And
like,
it's definitely
like
tell.
Stockard Channing in Grease.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So
But,
as a horror film fan, do you have any thoughts on the Hellraiser reboot that Hulu is producing?
I love the original Hellraiser. And the second one's decent too, and it just progressively got bad after that. But I'm skeptical because of the Prey film that just came out. There's a lot of CGI, and I mentioned the practical effects in this. I can't get around CGI being in horror films used as gore and stuff like this. Just a huge turnoff for me. But if they go the practical route, yeah, I'm extremely excited. I'm definitely going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah,
What's your thought on the Chucky series then?
I've only seen the first couple episodes. I didn't finish watching that.
So not well then.
It's the series, right? The show.
Yeah, the series.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've only seen the first couple episodes. I've always meant to go back to it, but other shows come up like Succession, which is what I'm in the middle of now. I can't stop. It's incredible. But another the baddie in this movie, his name was Simon Scudamore, who played him. This was his only film, and he's probably the best in the movie. He really went for it as the killer, but he sadly committed suicide before this film came out. This was his only role he ever did through. So I wanted to mention that. And probably my favorite thing is when it comes to indie filmmaking, there's an amazing chase scene at the end of this movie. That's one of the best scenes of this film, is the chase scene at the end. It was improvised completely at when they were filming, because they only had about 75 minutes worth of video based on their script, and so they just shoot a chase scene at the end, and it ended up being incredible. But yeah, if you ever want to get your buddies together and watch a horror film that you don't have to follow the plot, you can just laugh at their dialogue and look at amazing practical effects. Like this is right up there, I think. And like I said,
it sounds like the three of us need to get together and watch this and do a podcast on it.
Yeah, and it's definitely one that before the internet came out, I searched high and low for this movie. I always remembered it as that movie that gave me the first nightmares that I could remember as a small child. And until Reddit and the internet came about, I just couldn't find this movie at all.
I like how you have fond memories of the first movie to give you nightmares.
Yeah, and then that's what shaped my. You guys have these amazing 80s and early 90s recommendations that I didn't watch a lot of, because all I was watching was horror and dark fantasy movies like Neverending Story and Legend and Labyrinth. And that's all I watched as a kid, over and over.
Sorry.
I am going to ask Kevin to go next, because right now I'm 2 for 2. I would like to try to be 3 for 3. Let's see if I can guess Kevin. Kevin's pretty good at stumping me too.
Yeah.
Well, I had two in the pocket, and if we're going really for, if we're really going for the movies that time forgot, I'm going to have to go with this one. It was put out in 1991. Okay. So I wasn't young, but it is still a movie that I enjoyed in my youth. Probably had something to do with the lead actress, who was Phoebe Cates. Director 8D Jong, which sounds like it's made up. It sounds like, one of those movies that they give to an Asian character in the 80s. And the synopsis of this, let me say. A young woman finds her already unstable life rocked by the presence of a rambunctious, imaginary friend from childhood.
Drop Dead Fred.
Drop Dead Fred, yeah.
Drop Dead Fred.
That was mine and my sister's go-to film when we wanted to watch them together.
What'd you say, Bob? Katie said she could have guessed that one because it's a movie you guys used to watch a lot as kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was
3 for
just
3.
one of those. Just and I'm looking through the cast now, and some of them stick out: Marsha Mason, Tim Matheson, Phoebe Cates, who had a very short acting career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she chose instead to follow the path of a mother with Kevin Kline. This actually had Carrie Fisher in it, though.
I know.
Yeah, you know, kind of makes you wonder. But the other major star, Rick Mayall, who, you know, I don't think he's done much of. Oh no, he's dead. Okay, so he hasn't done much lately.
Is he the guy that played Fred?
He's the guy that played Fred. Yeah,
he was a British actor who he was really well known on the BBC as I think he had like a variety show that he hosted or like a sitcom or something that he was on. So he's a really popular actor in Britain. And this was supposed to be the movie that like brought him to America. Because it was kind of like following in the wake of like Mr. Bean and characters like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't really do that for him.
Oh.
No, I don't think this really took him places that that he was hoping to go to. And yeah, he died about 8 years ago. I guess what I liked about this movie, it was goofy, it was crazy. There was elements of like cartoonism, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Him looking up the skirts of women and talking to Phoebe Cates because nobody could see him, and the cartoon eyes and everything else that went along with it. But it was fun. It was a great movie. It was a movie I appreciated when I was younger. I'm sure if I watched it now, I'd be beside myself. But it was enjoyable. You know, as a God, how old was I in '91? As a 13-year-old boy, this was the kind of, you know, mature movie that I really needed to watch.
There was like, I want to say, there's another movie that it reminds me of, and I can't think of what the movie was.
Weekend at Bernie's? Oh.
No,
that was the movie that me and my sister is like 18 months older than I am, so we fought a lot. But that was the one movie when we wanted to both sit down and watch a movie that we could agree on to both sit and watch. That was Drop Dead Fred.
It's gonna bug me now because I can't remember what the other movie was that I was thinking of that it reminded me of, because it's very similar to like I don't know, to me it reminds me a little bit of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but that's not the movie that I'm thinking of. Just another movie where there's like a fantasy Little Monsters maybe with Fred Savage.
Well, maybe.
Beetlejuice maybe, I don't know. It's like anything like that. Like it's kind of like I don't know. I can't think of it. Oh, that's what it was. The guy that plays Drop Dead Fred was on a show called The Young Ones in the BBC, which was a really, really popular show at the time. And this was supposed to be his American breakthrough film.
Yeah, not so much.
I think it's the only American film he ever did. Not so much.
Not so much.
Drop Dead Fred. Yeah, and then of course it's the whole Phoebe Cates crush anyway, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Come on.
Ever since Fast Times.
Ridgemont High. Come on now.
That's why this movie didn't do so well. They didn't have a pool scene. All right. I
good acting. She couldn't do anything better than that.
I did the same thing as Kevin. This time around, I decided to choose a film from the 90s. I did two 80s films before, and I'm like, I'm going to go for 90s. It's not two 90s, it's 92, so it's not too late into the 90s, right? It is a rated R film from 1992. Yeah, I know. I saw it in the theater, too. That goes to show you how much they really cared and stuff, Philly, when you went to the movies. It's directed by Michael Ritchie, who is best known as the director of the original Bad News Bears, Wildcats with Goldie Hawn, Fletch and Fletch Lives with Chevy Chase,
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels,
and The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
Oh wait, that was the other Ritchie. My bad.
He was that guy.
Yeah. Michael Ritchie did a lot of pretty decent films from the 80s. This is his one film in the 90s, though. He didn't really do much after this film. I saw this in the theater when it first came out. It was not a big hit because it actually is a movie that kind of came out with some other films from the time that were similar to it. It stars James Woods, Louis Gossett Jr., Bruce Dern, Oliver Platt, Jim Caviezel, and in her very first top billed performance, Kevin's favorite actress, Heather Graham.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
hell of a
G.
cast, right?
What is
So
that?
here's the synopsis. Gabriel Kane, played by James Woods, has just been released from prison when he sets up a bet with a businessman. The businessman owns most of a boxing mad town. I'm not going to say the name of it. The bet is that Gabe can find a boxer who will knock out 10 of the hometown men in a boxing ring within 24 hours. Honey Roy Palmer, played by Louis Gossett Jr., is that man. Although at 48 years old, many say he's too old to fight. Yeah,
I can see scenes from it, but I don't know the name of it.
I'm the mother stumper tonight, baby.
Hold on. I'm thinking.
You're thinking.
I'm thinking. I know this.
You know it. The fact that it's taking this long for people to guess it makes me want to watch it again.
Yeah.
So I didn't say Digstown. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. Digstown. So I didn't say the name of the
wouldn't
town.
have got that.
Didn't say the name of the town in the synopsis because it's in the synopsis.
Yeah.
So James Woods plays a con man who gets out of prison and sets up a con in this little town called Digstown, where the people in the town are boxing crazy. They love their boxing, especially their hometown boxing. And the town is owned by Bruce Dern, who himself is sort of a con man. And they set up this wager that James Woods can find a boxer who can knock out 10 of the Digstown best fighters in a 24-hour period. And the person he brings in to do it is Louis Gossett Jr., who is a boxer, but is also a partner on a lot of his cons. And so the goal is to knock out 10 guys in 24 hours and win the bet. And basically by winning the bet, he wins the town, because that's kind of like what they end up wagering at the end. It's a comedy. It's got some dramatic moments in it, but for the most part, it's kind of a comedy. I love it. I thought it's one of my favorite movies. And then again, I love, like, goofy movies anyway. One of the reasons this movie didn't do really well in the box office is because it came out the same year as 10 other blockbuster sports-related films. Aside from Digstown, in 1992, you had Gladiator, which is a boxing movie, not the one with Russell Crowe. You had The Babe with John Goodman as Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
You had White Men Can't Jump in 1992. You had The Mighty Ducks in 1992.
Save the best for last.
You had Mr. Baseball in 1992. The River Runs Through It in 1992. I guess they count fly fishing as a sport. A movie called Wind, which is about boat racing. The Cutting Edge, one of Adrian's favorite films.
His favorite movies, yeah.
And A League of Their Own came out in 1992.
It's one of my favorite films of all time.
No Holds Barred wasn't in there?
That was not 1992. No Holds Barred, I think.
I'm sure I got a black eye in 1992 because me and my best friend growing up were reenacting a scene from No Holds Barred, to the point where he had to run out of the house and go home because he saw my eye swelling up.
Yeah. No Holds Barred. Let's see.
Yeah, it's funny because I made my little brother. I made my little brother recreate the scene in League of Their Own, where I was Dottie and he was Kit. I'm like, come on, hit me, man! I would never drop the ball though, never.
So, just narrowly missing out the list of 1992 blockbuster films is the classic karate film Sidekicks, starring Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Which I probably should have saved for like a film that time forgot.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that movie a lot as a kid when it came out.
I saw it in the theater too. Yeah. So yeah, this is one of my favorite films. It's got a great cast. It's got a little. I mean, you know he's going to win at the end. I mean, that's kind of a given based on the kind of film it is. But there is a little like twist to how he wins the bet at the end. The tagline for the film is "Where the pros meet the cons." And trivia for the film, I have one little piece of trivia. Heather Graham and James Woods briefly dated during the making of this movie, despite Woods being more than twice her age.
Yeah, that
I was going to say, she's like 17.
is that the Heather
she was like-
Graham I know?
Yeah, she was like 19 when she did
It's
this film.
definitely the Heather Graham we know.
Yeah, she was probably about 19 when she did this film.
James Woods.
And James Woods was about
his
40.
name's is Wood for some reason.
Piece of candy.
Piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
So one of my favorite quotes from there's actually two quotes that I really like because they kind of tie together. At one point, it's like halfway through the fight, it's like 5 or 6 boxers at this point, and Louis Gossett Jr. He's bloody and sweaty, and he's sitting in the corner, and he's out of breath, and he's beat up, and James Woods is trying to inspire him, and he says, "Look, listen, he's younger than you, he's faster than you, he hasn't fought 6 fights already, he's got more energy, but remember, you're black." And
people like you.
And Louis Gossett Jr. goes, what the hell does that mean? He goes, I don't know. It's like a roots thing. I'm trying to inspire you. You're shit at inspiration. And a funny little trivia thing there too is he says, I don't know, it's like a roots kind of thing. Louis Gossett Jr. was in Roots.
Yeah.
And then at the end, after he manages to accomplish, the goal of beating all these boxers, they're sitting together in the empty gymnasium, and James Woods sits down next to him and he puts his arm around him and he goes, "Roy, what you did tonight was the impossible." And then he looks at James Woods and he goes, "Now you inspire me."
Reminds me of Great White Hype. What year did that film
Great
come
White
out?
Hype was that was the 90s too. That was Damon Wayans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is I love this movie. It's one of my favorites, and I think I need to rewatch it. I didn't rewatch it for this episode because I've seen it so many times that
I remember the trailer of it, but I don't remember sitting down to watch it.
I had it in the early 90s, so 1992. I was sophomore in high school, I want to say.
Oh. I was watching A League of Their Own once a week at that point.
What in my neighborhood, I grew up in South Philadelphia, and we never had a movie theater in my area. At least not since like the early 80s. And then around the early 90s, they built this movie theater called the United Artists Riverview. And so my friends and I were there all the time because it was like, we have a movie theater now. And I saw every friggin' movie that they released in that theater. I think I went to see. So, I saw Digstown. You name the movie, I saw it. I saw League of Their Own there. I saw Digstown there. First movie I ever saw there was The Addams Family.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good one.
So, yeah, that's where I grew up. Yeah.
Okay.
So
they didn't have movie theaters because there was no park.
Yeah,
there's no park.
you had to park under I-95. So I'm gonna pause this.
Yeah, but that was Grand Theft Auto Vice City right there.
So thank you everybody for joining us tonight for episode 75, the season 4 premiere, Films That Time Forgot, part 3. Gentlemen, do we have any final things to say about our drinks this evening?
No.
They were very good.
Yeah.
Kev, how did it go with that margarita?
I couldn't. I just couldn't. This will have to find a new home. Maybe I'll just bring it into school, see who picks it up.
So the Hammer and Monkey, I did not try while I was down there, so this is the first time I tried it. It's very good.
Okay.
I did crack open the Saranac Ruby Red Ale. It's very tart, as a grapefruit beer probably should be. But I'm not feeling it tonight. But I'll finish it because wasted beer is a sad thing.
I don't have much to say about mine because they are things that I already liked, and I just saved the last one of each for tonight. And I think Donald liked his drinks. He had a whole commercial plan for it. So.
Gnarly Barley, they're good.
Gnarly
but
Barley.
if you can find anything from Abita Brewing Company, everything Abita makes is delicious. All the way down to their plain amber beer. Everything's great. That's one of my favorite
I like what we say for Devilback.
Yeah, Mike and I would say the same thing.
I made a note.
Backbone, so.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for joining us tonight for episode 75, season 4 premiere, Films That Time Forgot, part 3. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember to drop us a line at filmsfermentation@gmail.com or visit us at linktree.com/filmsfermentation for all of our social media and podcast links. We're on Twitter at filmsfermented. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next week as we present episode 76, movies that should or shouldn't be made into video games. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And thanks again to our special guest tonight, Donald from Yumi and a Movie Podcast. Donald, you have any final words you'd like to say?
No, please, anyone listen to this, hit me up on the socials and come be friends with me and then talk about any film.
Be my friend.
Be my friend.
Be my friend.
You got a
Will you be
friend
my
in
friend?
me. You got a friend in me.
Wah, wah.
All right, everybody. Cheers out there in podcast land.
Cheers.
Too late for that.
Go ahead, Mike.
Too soon.
Beer is like life. Chill for the best result.
I'm glad we recorded for that.
Yeah. You know what, Leo, I got a fortune cookie too.
Yeah.
I can just change the end of the fortune cookie to with beer. You know.
Hey, this is what I got.
Man just came off of vacation. He's out of practice.
No, it's what the calendar gives me.
I got a fortune cookie once. I cracked it open and it said you just ate Chinese food. And I was like, what the hell kind of fortune is this?
How did you know?
It knows. It knows.